This is Chemistry 100, an introduction to chemistry. Today is their first day of class, and it's a little special because the Raleigh County campus is on a delayed schedule, and the campus itself is not open until 10 o'clock. So since our class starts at 9, one option was to cancel the class, but that would put us put us one lesson behind. So what I'm doing, and what I distributed to the class in an email, so those of you who read the email know what's going on. Those who didn't are going to be in for a big surprise. The option I'm going for is we're going to Zoom the class today from home, because when the president says 10 o'clock's when the school opens, I better not be there before 10 o'clock. So we're going to do this Zoom, and that way we'll stay on schedule. By the way, the modality for this class is called HiFlex, and you'll see it listed like this. What that means is you can attend class face-to-face or by Zoom or entirely on the web. Let's start from the bottom. If you attend entirely on the web, then the course is self-directed. In other words, the only contact you will have with me is the contact that you initiate, or whatever you follow the syllabus, and everything is in Brightspace. Zoom classes, you can Zoom them from anywhere you want. You can go to a campus and Zoom. You can Zoom from home. You can Zoom anywhere. And you will have some face-to-face interaction with me. Face-to-face, of course, is the traditional. Okay. So that's why I think Zooming the class today will work, because you have those three options. Now, a few introductory remarks. The syllabus, which I'll show you in just a minute. I'll share the syllabus on screen so we can go through it, but I will encourage you to get a copy of the syllabus, which is in Brightspace, and read it cover to cover. This constitutes essentially a contract between me and you. This says what I will do for you. This says what you are expected to do to pass the course. There's also an instructor schedule, and that tells you where I am in class or office hours. Or if I'm not in office hours, then you can contact me. Best way is by cell phone. My texting is the best. You can still call my office, and the phone system will forward any messages on my office phone to my email. You can find your grades are in Brightspace in the grade book, and the exams are graded by the system, so they'll be available immediately. Any other assignments that I have to grade myself, there may be some lag time, so there won't be a grade there. But if you go a week late on any assignment, then I'll insert a 0, and that 0 will stay there until you complete the assignment, and I've imposed any penalties that apply. I'll show you this later, but there's a column in your grade book or an item in your grade book that shows you your course average. That average I calculate myself and put in there manually because Brightspace gradebook is too wonky. It just doesn't do everything I want it to do. It's not flexible. So if you find a grade in your grade book for your overall grade for the course, and there is some item missing in there that you know you've turned in, it hasn't been graded yet. So that item is not included in the course average. And when it is, then I'll update the course average. I generally have a lot of handouts. So if you come face to face, you get lots of documents printed and handed out to you. Otherwise, those documents are accessible in Brightspace, and I'll show you where to find them. Okay, what types of skills and abilities do you need to pass the course? One is math skills. You need basic mathematics for certain. Computer skills will help, especially if you're going to do a Zoom course or a web-based course. You need those computer skills. You need a laptop with a webcam. And you're going to need a calculator. So get yourself a scientific calculator. If you go to Walmart and find a calculator that says scientific on the package, it will have all the functions you need. When you take your exams, whether they're face-to-face or in Brightspace, you will use only the calculator. Do not use a cell phone calculator. Also, if you take your exam in Brightspace, it will be monitored by Respondus, and the browser will lock down. So I've enabled a calculator inside the lockdown browser. So if you forget your calculator or you just want to use that one, then you can use the scientific calculator that's available in the lockdown browser. Okay, let's see. If you want to Zoom the class, the Zoom ID is contained in the syllabus. So perhaps what I should do is go to the syllabus. I'm going to share the syllabus now, and we'll look at it just for a few minutes. Share, here we go. All right. By the way, the reason I Zoom all my classes, every class that's face-to-face is Zoomed. Of course, any Zoom class is Zoomed. And all my web classes benefit from the Zooming of the class because I record everything. And then I process the video and upload it to my YouTube channel. And then in Brightspace, I'll put a link in the appropriate location for each of the modules that you'll encounter in the course. And that way, you can see the most current presentations. Okay, so this is being recorded and it will be presented as such in Brightspace. Okay, there are details for my office phone there, my cell phone here. I give you my cell phone so that you can text me. That's the best way to do it. These are my office hours. I have face-to-face or Zoom, either way, during these hours on Monday and Thursday. And on Wednesday, I have only Zoom hours from 9 to 12. Now, I put these Zoom hours in there because management wants me to. We're dictated. We have to have so many office hours on our schedule. But if you need me, you can text me or call me anytime you want. And we can set up a private Zoom meeting if you're having problems and you need a special session, a tutoring session with me. That's perfectly fine. Speaking of tutoring, you'll notice that when you go into the Brightspace course, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes, I've got a welcoming message, and then there's another message in there, announcement, for free tutoring for the physical sciences by Barry Pine. And all of his details are there in the Brightspace course. You can contact him by Zoom any of those times that he's allowed and get some extra help if you need it. All right, so there's the course modality. Here's how you connect. If you want to Zoom the class, here's all you have to do is either click on this. Sometimes if you're in a Word document, you have to control click, or you can just copy and paste it into your browser and you can zoom into the class at these designated times on Tuesday and Thursday from 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock. Your required text is Cengage Unlimited. Cengage Unlimited allows you to access not only the electronic textbook for the course, it also gives you access to your homework. So that's why it is required. If you like, by the way, you can purchase Cengage Unlimited for 1 semester, which would be ample for this course. Or if you're going to take other courses that use Cengage textbooks or Cengage products, then you only need to purchase Cengage Unlimited once. If you're only going to do it for 1 semester, then this price, $175 is all you need, and you can take any course that gives you that uses Cengage products. If you're going to go for a whole year and use Cengage products, then you'll want to purchase the 12-month version, which I don't have here, but it's about twice that value. If you prefer hard copies, like to have a hard copy textbook, then you can rent them from Cengage once you're registered with the course for the shipping cost, or you can get a hard copy, and I've listed the particulars down here. Used copies should be very affordable if you prefer the feel of paper. These learning outcomes, I'm going to let you look at those on your own. Education core outcomes, you'll want to pay attention to this grading scales. I use a 10-point scale, so if you get 90% average at the end of the semester, you got an A. Or if you get 90% or better on any exam or project of any kind, assignments, then those are worth an A. So we take all the exam grades and average them together, and that contributes to 65% of your overall grade. The final exam is worth 15%, which is about worth 2 chapter exams. And then the homework assignments are worth 20%. So if you got all exams perfect, 100% on every exam, and you did none of the homework, the best you could get is 80% or a B. Let's see. I put this administrative withdrawal item is in there because we are required, if there's no contact of any kind between me and you, in other words, you don't complete any exams, you don't complete any homework, you don't call me, there's no contact for 2 consecutive weeks, then I have to submit your name for administrative withdrawal and you'll be dropped from the class. This is standard academic integrity, disability services. You'll see this in every syllabus for the courses you take. So I'm not going to go over that one. There are the particulars for your calculator. If you're going to take your exams remotely, if you come to class, you'll get a paper exam and I'll grade it on the spot. If you take your exams remotely on the web or as a Zoom class, then you'll be monitored by Respondus and locked down in the browser for the exam. I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes if you don't already know. So that means you'll need a webcam with a microphone, and if you have a laptop, most of them do already have that capability. Any other supplemental material I'll hand out in class, or you have access to it in Brightspace. So if you watch the video from the Zoomed class afterwards, then you'll see what I'm handing out in class, and then you'll be able to go to the Brightspace course and get copies of that. This is just a course outline of the topics we're going to cover. Items on regular exams. Appendix 2 in this syllabus will give you the particulars on how to set up your Respondus Monitor lockdown browser. Let's see, homework. It's important that when you sign up for homework, if you already have a Cengage account, then it's going to be fairly simple registering for homework in this course. If you don't already have an account, then you'll have to jump through a couple more hoops in order to get registered with Cengage, form an account, and register for homework in this course. It's important that you go to the homework registration from within Brightspace. That way, Cengage detects that fact when you try to register. It knows that you're coming from Brightspace and a registered course with Cengage, and it does two things. It makes your registration easier, and two, it links your grades into the grade book for the course. If you try to register outside the course and do your homework outside the course, then I may or may not see your grades, and I may count you as never doing your homework when you do it. So it's important that you register from within Brightspace. And when we go into the Brightspace course, I'll show you where all that stuff is. Okay. Bonus questions. There may be some on some of the exams, and they'll be identified as extra credit. I think the first exam, I don't have any bonus questions because that material is absolutely essential. And you either know it or you don't. And if you don't know it, then you're going to have trouble in the course. So the first exam, I don't think has any bonus questions on it. There are bonus assignments. There are two that are in Module 2. So Module 2 would be Exam 2. There's one called Getting to Know the Periodic Table, and I'll show you what that's like later, and name that compound. Both of these together are worth half an exam grade. So I'm going to wait until we get into Brightspace and show you where all that is and what to do with it. But those are extra credit assignments. Here's one that you want to pay attention to. This is course schedule. And notice it starts on the 21st of January, Tuesday, and it goes full week, even days of the week when we don't meet. And I do that for students who are completely web-based. So I think it's easier, but I have highlighted the days where we actually meet in class. There's some other important items in here, like last day to add drop. So Monday, the 27th, will be the last day that you can make course corrections in your schedule. I'll come back and look at the particulars in just a minute, but I wanted to point out some things. Let's see. Items like, here's spring break. Right? There'll be no class meetings during spring break. Mid-semester grades are due on March 17th. So that means when I turn those grades in, everything that's happened before that will be part of your course score. And then the last day to withdraw with a W, so that you don't have a failing grade attached to your course, if you're struggling and you decide to withdraw, be sure to do it before April 18th. And then the last day of classes there and the final exam will be in this week. Then the final grades are due on May 19th. All right, let's go back to the top and show you how this thing is organized. The activities for days that we meet in class, and there should be a parallel. If you're not going to come to class, if you Zoom or if you do web-based, then this would help you keep up with the course so you don't fall behind. Okay, we're doing class business now and expectations, and then I'm going to do a short lecture on chapter 1, an introduction. It's very short, so we've got plenty of time. Then the next time we meet, we'll cover chapter 2 and 3 for those 2 hours. Now, if you were in class, I would hand out the syllabus. I would hand out my course schedule. I would hand out course schedule. I would hand out that. I'll show you this in a minute. Periodic table. I would also hand out a review document. It looks exactly like an exam. So you can actually take it as if it were an exam, find out where the questions you missed, and go back and concentrate on those. Well, how do you know that you missed them? Well, there's a key. There's a key to this review document, and I'll share it in a minute, in Brightspace, so you can check your answers. Now, if you can't figure out why you got a question wrong, it just escapes you, I give you another document. It's called Worked Problems. And I take every question in that review document and work it out by hand in a separate document. So you go there and see if you can figure out why you missed that question. If you still can't figure it out and you come to class, then when we have a review session, which one of the examples here, review on January 28th, we'll have a review session in class. Bring those questions to class, or you can Zoom them to class. If you're totally web-based, then and you still can't figure it out, then you'll have to either get tutoring sessions from Barry Pine or contact me for help with those problems. All right. So the schedule is set up. It tells you what activity we're going to do in this column, the date, of course, and the day, and then the textbook chapters that apply. Right? So we have a review session a week from today on chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then the following Thursday, we'll have an exam. And on the days of the exam, the homework for those chapters is also due. And you need to register for your homework immediately so you can start doing those homework problems. And then after the exam will take about an hour, and then the final hour we'll do chapter 4, introduce chapter 4. Okay, and that's the pattern. Some days I built in buffer days in case I run out of time. So those are open to whatever we have overflow. And there's several of those buffer days in here. I've inserted those where I think I might run over and have to stop the lecture and proceed the next time we meet. Let's see. And that's the pattern. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna go past the schedule now, and by the way, here's another link to the Zooming the class. Also, if you have that Zoom app on your phone or your tablet, and you can't click the invitation here, then you can use the Zoom ID and the passcode here to connect with the class. So you can do it either way. All right. I've got a little blurb here on artificial intelligence. Um, Artificial intelligence is not going to be very helpful in this course because you don't have any essays to write. You just learn the material and you work the problems. But it's there so that I don't miss anything important. New River policy for attendance allows for sick days. And that's fine. When I report your attendance, I can either report you as attending web, and if you're completing assignments as a web student, then I'll report you as attending. If you Zoom the class, then I can report you as attending for Zoom. If you face-to-face, obviously you'll be present. But as far as grading goes, well, let's see. Hold on a second. Okay. In this class, I don't give you any credit for attending. So that's really a moot point. But in any of my other courses where I give you the students credit for attending class, if you don't attend, then it doesn't matter what the New River policy is, you don't get credit for attending that day as far as your grade goes. Okay. Makeup testing is essentially irrelevant for this course because the tests are available in Brightspace. So they're all available now. You can take them at if you're a web-based student and you're very aggressive, then you can take them and finish the course whenever you feel comfortable taking the exams. Exam etiquette. Well, when you're in class, of course, you're going to be properly dressed and behave. But if you're Zooming the class, then there's a tendency for some students to attend class in their underwear or on the bed or something like that. When you attend a class in Zoom, you should be attired and presenting yourself as if you were face-to-face in class. And small children and animals should be excluded from the room. You don't want any distractions. And when you Zoom the class, I want to see your face. So in other words, don't turn your camera off. There are extenuating circumstances, and that's case-by-case basis, but for the most part, I want to see your face. I want to know you're there. I don't want you to Zoom in and then disappear. If you're going to disappear, then you might as well just not show up. Just take the course as a web-based course and let that be your attendance. Okay. Here's some useful tips on how to be successful in the course, some ideas about communicating with me. I put these in black and white just so that they'll be available to you anytime you need to ask a question and look in the syllabus to get your answers. If you can't find the answers there, of course, then contact me. This is how you contact my office hours. And there's my office ID. I don't have a code, a security code for my office hours. You just zoom in at that ID or click the put this in your link, and you can connect with me during my office hours. If you click on my office hours, if you try to find me in person or Zoom in my office hours, and I'm not there, that means I've been called away on official duty. So if you're going to make a trip to the campus, to Raleigh campus to see me, a special trip, you probably should text me and be sure I'm there. If you're already on campus, then of course, come by the office and make sure I'm there if you want to see me. Zooming, you can do that from anywhere, so that's not an issue for travel. Okay, here's Appendix 1, and this is homework. This is the appendix for homework. Cengage Unlimited is required. If you don't register for Cengage Unlimited, that means you won't be doing any of your homework, and all of your homework grades will be zeros. This gives you an idea of what to look for in the course to find the registration instructions and getting connected in the course. And I'm gonna call up Brightspace in just a minute and go through the course. So this is here as backup. If you're going to take the tests online and use Respondus Monitor Lockdown Browser, if you've never done it before, then this is helpful information. If you've used this for other courses, then you probably don't need to read this. Let's see. Brightspace is our new learning management system. Well, it's not new. We've had it for 2 or 3 years. But overall, Blackboard was a better system. But Brightspace has one advantage here, and that's in setting up your lockdown browser Respondus Monitor installation on your computer. This is very well integrated in the system. So the first time you go to take an exam, you go to the bottom to say start. It says start quiz. That's always an exam. There's also just above that a link for installing the latest version of Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser. So all you have to do is click on that before you start the exam. Click on that. If you haven't already installed it, then click on it and it'll walk you through the installation. Let's see. And this is just what you can expect. I have a practice test for you to do using Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. If this is the first time you've ever taken the course, then you definitely want to do the practice test to be sure all your equipment is working. In fact, I would recommend that you do the practice test even if you've done it before, because this is a start of a new semester. You may have new equipment. Something may have gone wrong with your connections. Take the practice test and be sure everything is working properly. It doesn't matter what the answer is to the one question in there. Just put something down and submit it. It's not going to affect your grade. It's just check your equipment. That way, you know your equipment's working, and the first graded exam you come to, you know that your equipment should work, and you won't have to fiddle around trying to make it work. Let's see, there's some few things that you need to read about etiquette, and that should be, Appendix 3. Attending the Zoom class. Okay. These are details about that, and I'm not going to go over those because you can read as well as I can. Okay, so that's the syllabus. I'm going to stop the share. And I'm going to show you, before we go to the course in Brightspace, I'm going to share some things that I would give you in class. Aside from the syllabus, my schedule, let's see, share, and there's my schedule. I'm going to share that, show you. Okay, so here's my schedule. Let's see, it's kind of small. Let me boost it up a little bit. Let's see, 100%. There we go. That's a little bigger. Okay, so you see how it's organized. There again, I've got my my office hours Zoom connection there. And you'll notice that Monday through Friday, I'm on Raleigh campus. So I'm not going to be some semesters I'm out of town on Fridays, but this semester I should be there. Okay, so on Mondays, this shows you the class I'm teaching on Mondays, so you can't reach me during those times. This is empty space in here that we can set up a special meeting or office hours here that I should be available. And of course, this is our CHEM100 class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I teach a 101, which is general chemistry. It's a 2-semester version, and their lab. So those times I won't be available. These times I won't be available. Office hours on Wednesday, This is my Zoom only, so I may not even be on campus then. But you can still contact me if you need a Zoom session. Okay? All right, that's my schedule. I have virtual classes too. These are all web-based classes, and there's no option for those. They're web-based, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to stop that share and go to the next document that I wanted to show you. And this is the, excuse me, share periodic table. Where is the, here it is. All right. This is my, this periodic table is special because I have edited it to show you the symbols for the elements that I want you to memorize. Now, we won't actually have to know these until the second exam, materials for the second module. But memorization takes a while. So I want to give you this one early so you can start memorizing symbols. These symbols represent elements. H, hydrogen, and then over here, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Those symbols represent elements. So you need to memorize those, but only the ones that I've boxed in red. So hydrogen and helium, definitely. All of these in red, boxed in red. Notice that some of these don't have boxes around them. You don't have to memorize those, just the ones with the red boxes. That's about half of the ones in the periodic table. There are 118 elements in the periodic table, and I want you to memorize about 60 of them. So how do you do that? The best way is to take a deck of 3x5 cards, 3x5 cards, write the name on one side and the symbol on the other, and just flip those cards until you memorize them. It's like run through them. You get one, put it in that stack. You miss that one, put it in that stack. And you keep going over and over and over until you get them all in that right-hand stack. And then you go back and do it again. And you do it until you can do all the elements, either name to symbol or symbol to name, both ways. And you can do that whole stack of elements through without making a mistake 3 times in a row. If you can do that, then you've got them memorized. Now, the simple fact that you're going to make out the cards will start the memorization process. That's why I don't want you to buy flashcards on the internet. I want you to make them because that helps you memorize them to start with. Notice that there are no names here, just the symbols. So that means you're going to have to look up what does this symbol mean, and that will be in your textbook. Most chemistry textbooks have a list of the elements, alphabetical list of the elements in the inside the cover, either the front or the back cover of the textbook. And of course, that goes for electronic textbooks too. And you can start memorizing those symbols. All right. All right. Next is particular for this first module. Okay. I'm going to wait to share the PowerPoints because when I share the PowerPoints, we're going to start the lecture. So after the PowerPoints, if you came to class, I would hand you this. First, I would hand you this document right here. Right? This is the review document. Notice it looks exactly like an exam. Now, it doesn't mean that every question on this review document is going to be in the exam. It's to give you drilling experience and experience answering different questions about the material. So it's identified here as a review document, right? That review is important. That means that this is not the exam, right? So it's set up to be like an exam. So in this case, it may be all multiple choice for the first exam. I'm looking to see, see, some of them have pictures with them that the question references. And it looks like, yeah, these are all multiple choice. So first exam should be only multiple choice. There will also be in this review document a useful information at the very end of the document. If there is useful information, this is information that you are permitted to have with you during the exam. If you were face-to-face, this would be included on the exam. If you're taking it in Brightspace, then there'll be a separate document called useful information. And when you take the exam, be sure and have a copy of that with you before you go to lockdown browser, because then it won't allow you to access any of that material. But all this material is available for the exam. And it expands over time. I just add to it as the semester proceeds. So you'll have all this plus a little more for the next one. Okay, that's what your review document looks like. And if when we go into Brightspace, I'll show you where the key is. I don't print out the keys anymore because I used to do that and I broke the printer. There's too many pages. Okay, let's stop the share and I'll show you what, if you can't figure out why you're missing a question, then you can go to this document, which is worked problems. There it is. Okay. So this will be the same for each review document. You'll have a worked problems, and the numbers should coincide with the numbers on the review document. And I work these out by hand to show you how to get the answers. Now, if you just go with the review document and you go to the work problems and you start filling those in just like that, that's not going to do you any good. If properly used, this worked problems document will help you master the material, right? Actually, if you just go in and try to fill in the answers from the key or from the work document, then you're cheating yourself. It's not graded, so it's not officially a unlawful behavior for the course, but you're cheating yourself if you don't work your brain to learn the material, right? And one of the best ways to learn any of the sciences is memorize the facts. In our case, the facts include element symbols. But memorize the facts so that you'll have that information up here to help you solve problems. All right. And then, of course, there's some facts that I'm going to give you in useful information. And if you work enough of these problems, you'll get to the place where you say, wait a minute, I've worked this type of problem before. Yeah, there's repetition in here. So your two best friends in this class are curiosity first. You have a curious mind. You want to know how the universe works as far as chemistry is concerned. If you're curious, then you have an advantage over any of the other students in the class who are not curious. Second is boredom. In this course, if you're bored working these problems, that means you know how to work them and you need to move on to something more challenging. All right, so curiosity and boredom are your two best friends in this class. All right, now we're going to go to, I'm going to share the first PowerPoint. I use PowerPoint slides for the students' benefit so that you can see what I'm talking about. You can make notes on the slides. I hand them out just like this. I hand out these right there. And you can make notes on them if you want. You can make notes on separate sheets if you want to. But I also like PowerPoint slides because it keeps me on track. Because otherwise, I tend to wander. I tell stories, and talk about things. And this helps me stay on track so I don't get off topic too far anyway. Okay, so I'm going to share this first set of slides, and we're going to talk about, let's see if I haven't missed anything. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. So I'm going to go to the first set of slides right here. There we go. Make a slideshow out of it. Come on. There we go. Okay. First thing you'll notice, oops, is if you get if you buy a hard copy of the book, or you get a textbook on loan from Cengage, it won't look like this. This is a slide set that I started during the 7th edition. And I've modified them heavily over time. So rather than have to, every time Cengage comes out with a new edition, I don't want to use a new slide set and have to remodify them all over again. So that's why this looks a little different than your textbook. But the material is just as valid now as it was when I first started the course. Okay. Everybody knows that is Grumpy Cat, who has sadly passed away. All right. In this unit, we're going to cover these 3 chapters, and today's just a short introduction of chemistry. And we're in good shape because I've not even used up an hour of time yet. And then the second chapter, and all these in this unit are going to be, this will be material for the first exam. So let's get our introduction out of the way here. These are some topics, just a few topics for today. We're not going to go in depth yet. This gives you time to, you know what I didn't do? I didn't go into Brightspace yet. You know what? We're going to continue. I'm going to go back to Brightspace after we finish this. It might even make more sense afterwards also. Okay, so we're going to cover these topics. Why is chemistry important? One thing about the sciences is, and we'll cover this in just a minute, but scientists have a tendency to look at the universe differently than other people. We want to know how something works in the natural world. We want to know, if possible, why it works in the natural world. Understanding the natural world helps us not just intellectually, but practically speaking, to even modify the world to suit our needs. So why is chemistry important? Well, one of the reasons is we can develop new materials, right? There was a time when people surrounded themselves with collections of just natural objects. Like you could build your house out of sticks, out of stones, out of mud brick, or you just live in a cave, right? But nowadays, especially in the 20th century, we've come to the point now that we're not just engineering natural materials into shapes that we like we build furniture out of wood, or we build houses out of wood or brick, which brick is a slight modification of materials. But rather than just modify the natural materials into some shape that we like, we actually go to the molecular level and engineer the material itself to suit our needs. New materials might include objects, building materials, like plastics or alloys, metal alloys, engineered to do certain things. And an understanding of chemistry helps us to do that. An extension of new materials is the pharmaceuticals. We can actually create chemicals that can help our bodies fight off disease. Now, very often we enlist the help of microorganisms to do this, but some pharmaceuticals can either be entirely or partially synthesized in the laboratory without microorganisms. In fact, synthesizing compounds in the laboratory was one method by which chemists would confirm the composition and structure of new chemicals. In other words, they knew that if they did this reaction in sequence with another and ended up with the same chemical that was unknown, they had established its structure by a sequence of reactions. Now we don't have to do that now because we have alternate methods, but that used to be the way that chemical compounds were confirmed, was by synthesis methods. But the pharmaceuticals are extremely important. There was a time when the life expectancy for the average human was about 45 years old, right? And there are 3 reasons in human history for shortened lifespans. One was violent death, wars and conflicts of certain types. The next was starvation, right? Couldn't grow enough food or get enough food and water for the support the people. And that's still happening today in certain parts of the world. And the other was disease. Diseases in human history took a huge toll on human populations. So pharmaceuticals are absolutely essential, and chemistry is at the core of creating those pharmaceuticals. There are certain segments of the population in this world who would have you believe that we are in an energy crisis. In other words, we're going to run out of energy, and some of them would like us to do that for political reasons. But it's been a pattern of human development that as civilization advanced, we found new, more efficient, more concentrated sources of energy to fuel the industry and economy of those civilizations. All right, so used to be, and still is in some parts of the world, people rely on animal dung, dried dung that they burn in their fires to cook their food and heat their homes. Then we move to wood, right? Natural products, wood or biomass, burning biomass as an energy source. Then we discovered fossil fuels, coal, and then oil, and then natural gas. And those fossil fuels have been fueling our economy for the past couple of 100 years, maybe a little less. And we still have enough of those energy sources to proceed into the future for another 200 or 300 years, as long as we can squelch the advances of the green people who want us to go back to the dark ages and live in grass huts. These new energy sources, chemistry can help us develop them. In fact, energy neutral sources can be developed. In other words, what I mean by that is fossil fuels have stored energy over hundreds of thousands, millions of years underground. So we're using those from times gone past. But we're still receiving energy from the sun continuously and from within the earth from radioactive decay. So chemistry can help us access those net zero sources of energy, right? The energy is going to come to us anyway from under the earth or from from the sun. It's going to get here anyway. So what we want to do is capture it and use it before we dissipate it as heat, right? And chemistry will help us develop those new energy sources. Food supplies. Chemistry is absolutely essential for what was once called the Green Revolution. Now, the Green Revolution itself was a development of certain types of plants by genetic manipulation to produce foodstuffs that were more durable, more productive. For instance, wheat used to grow to like 5 or 6 feet tall before it gave you the corn, the head. And if you had a windstorm or a harsh hailstorm or thunderstorm, it would come in and lay it flat and it would rot. So geneticists developed short stature wheat, which allowed it to stand up against stronger winds. And that preserved more of the crop for harvesting. Well, they also developed strains of wheat that required more nutrition from the earth, from the soil. And in order to do that, that's largely, well, 3 main components in the soil nourish plants. These are called macronutrients. Nitrogen first, potassium, and phosphorus. And that requires chemistry to supply those needed chemicals to the plant roots. So our food supplies are dependent upon chemistry as well. All right. And chemistry can actually solve many environmental problems, and we've done that over time, solving certain types of pollution through chemistry. And we don't have time to go into great detail there, but it has happened. So we can create a problem and then solve a problem, and that seems to be human history. We advance, create a problem, solve a problem. Advance some more, create a problem, solve a problem. You might be able to think of others. Let's see. This photo on the right is a fireworks celebration, probably 4th of July, because I can see the Washington Monument and the Congress in the back. And you get different colors. That's due to chemistry. When those fireworks explode, they excite the molecules and the atoms in the charge, and they give off various colors depending on what elements are there. And we'll talk about that later. All right. So we're going to learn principles of chemistry. We're going to become better at solving problems. And that's where you really learn chemistry, when you get experience solving problems. That's why I give you this review document with so many problems in it, because experience in solving those problems and answering those questions is where you really learn chemistry. This introduction is just the tip of the iceberg. All right. There are various definitions for chemistry. It's a very, very broad region of science. Chemistry covers lots of territory. That's why one textbook I've used reads Chemistry, the Central Science. In other words, chemistry is central to all other sciences. Now, that's a little, we're a little proud by saying that. In fact, chemists say that biology is just applied chemistry, but physicists say that chemistry is just applied physics. And then, of course, mathematicians would say that physics is just applied math. So each group has its own preference. Okay, what is chemistry? Chemistry is the study of substances, materials in the universe, and how they change from one substance to another. We want to understand what that change is largely so that we can take advantage of the change, maybe even manipulate the change ourselves to suit our needs. I mentioned that already. There are many, many, many branches of chemistry. In fact, there's one branch, physical chemistry, which deals with chemistry in terms of the physics of atoms and molecules, and that's it. That's all there is to it. We're going to touch on a little bit of that in this course. We're not great depth because you can really get deep into the weeds with physical chemistry. We're just going to touch on it as far as it will help us move forward in the course. Here's how you solve a problem, and this works for any science. What's the question? What is the problem that is being stated? Is it stated clearly? So if you're actually trying to solve a problem and you don't have a question yet, then you need to develop the question for yourself. What is the problem? If you don't know what the problem is, there's no way to find an answer. All right, so that's the first step. Usually, you make an observation. That's typical for scientists. We're curious about the natural world. We observe something happening. We observe maybe, well, I don't know. Let's take a recent event. A wildfire that swept through Southern California. Make that observation. The natural question is why? Why did it happen? Now, that's a pretty broad question. You may have to break it down into smaller questions to get a good answer, but that's a start. We make the observation. Sometimes the observation is broad, sometimes the observation is very narrow. So once we have the question, we formulate a method for solving the problem, propose solutions to the problem. This is where your imagination comes in. How can we solve the problem? Sometimes it's formulated as a hypothesis, which is just a statement of the problem and including with it a solution. And then you, once you've identified the problem, you've asked the question, then you formulate a solution to the problem. You develop a solution that you've proposed in the form of an experiment. Now, what we're giving you here in these steps is actually the scientific method. The scientific method is a way of thinking. It's not a chiseled in stone step by step, but it's an outline for solving problems. And in fact, the scientific method is a subset of what we call critical thinking. So you perform the experiment. You design an experiment that will answer the question for you, you hope, and then you perform the experiment. Okay, so there's more to it, of course. Once you perform the experiment, you have to gather the information from the experiment to see if it answers your question. And we're going to get into that in just a second. So this scientific method we can break down into a framework of gaining and organizing knowledge, right? It's a plan of action, a set of procedures that we follow. And depending on what branch of science you're in, that branch may prefer a certain way of solving problems. A science that is completely bound to the laboratory will approach a problem differently than one that has to get out into the natural world where there are many more variables. So the plan of action is intentionally very broad to encompass as much of the of potential questions as possible. Now, one statement you may have heard in the popular media is this statement is called settled science. That's a bunch of bunk. Science is never settled. You may draw conclusions and have data to support your conclusions, information that supports your interpretation of what's happened in the natural world. But there's always the opportunity for one of your colleagues to come along and say, I think you should have looked at something else to answer that question. Science is never settled. It's always open for investigation. That's how we advance. By convincing our colleagues that we're on the right track. And I do mean convince. You've got to prove to your colleagues that you have answered the question adequately. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Okay. So science is always challenging your assumptions, challenging your results, challenging your conclusions. So when somebody like Al Gore comes along and says that the climate is getting warmer and it's settled, we have settled that question, everybody else just shut up and accept my interpretation of the natural world. Well, that's a bunch of hooey. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So here's an outline of the method. The steps in the scientific method are roughly like this. First thing you'll notice that it's a process that lies at the center of the inquiry. And we divide the consequences of our experiments, of our scientific investigations, into two categories. One is a law. In the sciences, a law simply says what happens. Under these circumstances, this will happen every time. And we're going to look at those in a future chapter in terms of gas laws. So if we know conditions at this point, we know what will happen. There's no attempt to explain why. It just says this is what happens. So it's very restricted. In other words, it's narrowly defined, a law. All right, so when we make an observation and we develop a hypothesis, this is an explanation for the observation. This is what I think is happening. I may be right, I may be wrong, right? This is purely due to your imagination and experience from previous experiments. So your hypotheses over time tend to become more educated guesses. Now, when we have a theory, when we've developed a theory, well, let's back up. If we do an observation here, we develop a hypothesis, an experiment, and we analyze the results of the experiment to see what happened. And then we go back and make observations. Maybe we change it a little bit. We make more observations and do the experiment. And we find that over many experiments, we get similar results, right? Our hypothesis is accurate. And we can say, this is what happens, and I don't know why yet, right? So we do, usually, this is the way it happens. We develop the law first, and then over time, we say, with experience, we say, I think this is why it's happening, right? Now, when you say that you think something is happening and you know why it happens, then we generally also include in that theory, which takes the law and says this is why it happens. In that theory, we often include a model. I'll talk about models in detail in just a minute. But a model is simply a representation of the system that you're trying to describe so that you can get a handle on why it happens. All right. So once we've developed the theory, the thing about a theory is if you know why something is happening, you can predict what happens if something changes. If you have a dramatic change in the system and you know why it's happened, then you can make a prediction and go to develop an experiment with a new hypothesis and test your theory with that experiment. Say, all right, if I say it's happening because of this, then, and it predicts accurately the outcome, then that's support for my theory. Okay? And that can go in a cyclic fashion so it can refine the theory and refine the model. Okay? All right. So here's a concept check. Which of the steps in the scientific method is missing from the following situation? All right, here's the situation. Your instructor's holding a balloon, and the instructor inhales some of the gas of the balloon. And then he starts to speak with this funny, high-pitched voice. He then asks you to determine, in that high-pitched voice, what gas was inside the balloon that he inhaled. Based on your observations, you conclude that the gas must be helium. All right. What's missing from this? Well, there's an observation. We observe that with inhalation, we get high-pitched voice. And the question then is, what's causing it? What is the gas in the balloon? That's our question. All right. Well, based on your observations, can you conclude that it's helium? Well, we know that someone who inhales helium is going to speak with a high-pitched voice. That's one observation that we made. But there's something missing. Did we state the problem? Did we make observations? Did we formulate a hypothesis? Did we perform experiments? Right? We had a hypothesis. We're proposing that we're proposing that the gas is helium. That's our hypothesis that explains. But that conclusion is not supported by experiment because we don't know what went into the balloon before it was breathed. So what we have to do is propose an experiment. So what type of experiment would you do? Well, you take a balloon, you fill it with various gases, hopefully gases that are not toxic. Over short periods of time, the gases that are available are not going to be toxic. Of course, you don't want to inhale hydrogen sulfide. That would be deadly. So you pick gases that won't kill the person breathing them. And you include helium. If you think it's helium, you definitely have to have helium as one of the gases. Then you include oxygen, right? We breathe oxygen. Include nitrogen. Include other gases, maybe argon. And then test them, right? See if they produce the high-pitched sound. And that way, you perform the experiment, you get your data, we call it, and then you can draw an accurate conclusion for what the gas is. We did not perform experiments. All right. For chemistry, chemistry is like learning a new language. First thing you have to learn in chemistry is the alphabet. And the alphabet, I started you on that with the symbols, the chemical symbols for the elements. That's your alphabet. Then, let's see, that's memorizing that important information, of course. As we proceed through the term, we're going to take those letters. Think of it as writing an essay. You've got to have an alphabet. You know your alphabet. So if you're in a foreign language, you need to learn a new alphabet. Say it's Greek. You have to learn alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, the whole alphabet. And then in order to write, say, Homer's Iliad, you have to not only know the alphabet, you have to know how to form words with it. You have to know the syntax and the grammar, right? Learn the vocabulary. What does these words now mean? So we take our symbols in chemistry and we put them together into compounds, okay? Then we're going to take compounds and we're going to put those together and see how they change. And that, we put that into a chemical reaction, and that's our sentence. And then you can put sentences together to make a paragraph, a sequence of reactions to produce a product. Okay, so that's the general outline. So we have to learn the symbols, we have to learn how they go together, we have to memorize certain information as we go. Memory is inescapable. And the best way to memorize something is to repeat. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Once you think you have it, go away for a couple of hours, come back, see if you remember it, right? If you don't remember it, that means it's still locked in short-term. It was in short-term memory, and you have not moved it to long-term memory. So you need to move things to long-term memory so that you can use them to solve problems. And that's where repetition comes in. Learn how to solve problems, right? We'll have various different types of problems, and certain solutions work better with different types. And then learn how to solve those problems and then practice. And make mistakes. Right? Mistakes are inevitable, but that's how the brain works. When you make a mistake and you learn how the mistake was made, you learn how to not make the mistake, then your brain is developing new neural pathways to solve those problems. I remember in high school, a question on an exam. What was this was a history exam for during World War II. What was the method, the tactical approach that the Nazis used when they attacked an enemy? And the answer is blitzkrieg, right? I missed that question on that test. But after that, I never forgot it. So we learn by our mistakes. And always ask questions. Curiosity is your first best friend. Hang on to curiosity. Ask questions. And then work lots of problems. Get bored working problems. All right. That's it for chapter 1. Okay. So now I want to go to, yeah, we've got time. I'm going to go to Brightspace. So let's share my browser. Let's see, where is my browser? My browser. Here we go. All right, here's my browser. And here's the New River homepage, right? You should have gone through a new student orientation to help you get into the system. So I'm not going to do that. If you're having trouble getting into the system, having trouble logging in, having that type of trouble, you need to go to information technology or the help desk and fix those problems yourself. That's not my job. So we go to, well, before we go in there, actually, if you need to find any faculty, not just me, but any faculty, you can go to the directory. It's loading kind of slow today. Must be the sub-zero temperatures. Let me try reloading the page. Come on. There we go. So here's the college directory. You can find any faculty, any staff, any student in the college directory. All right, now we're going to go back. New River. Okay, let's see. River, here we go. This is the login portal. You'll have your username and your password. And when you click login, it's going to ask you for a passcode. You should have selected a place to send your passcode. I selected an email address. So my passcode goes to my email address. So I have to pull up my passcode, and it's not shared, so you won't see it in the background. And I'll go in here, here, there, and I'll bring that up. Let's see, and put my passcode in. All right, then you can log in. That's a security measure so that we won't get hacked again. There we go. Now your landing page in this portal is going to look different than mine, because I've got a whole lot more stuff in here. But what you want to look for is, let's see, as far as the course is concerned, go to, let's see. By the way, while we're here, if you don't have Microsoft Office on your computer, then we have an enterprise contract that allows us, students and faculty, to load Office 365 on their computers. And that's where you go to it. If you don't already have it, then you can go there. If you need help getting installed, then contact the help desk and they'll help you. But we're going to go to Brightspace, Desire to Learn. And then we're going to look for our course. You can look for your course different ways. You can go down, scroll down here and find your course, or you can go up here to this waffle. And our course is going to be this one. 22567 is the CRN number, I believe, yes. And CHEM100. So you just click on that, and there it is. All right, I'm going to go to View as a Student, so it looks like what you're going to see. Okay? So you got a little blurb, welcome message. You can ignore that if you want to. A note on course modality, since this is a HyFlex course. This explains what HyFlex means. And here are the connection. These are the times and the, let's see, where is it? Here it is, the Zoom ID. So you need to have Zoom established, the Zoom app loaded on your computer. And then you can go to this Zoom ID and connect with Barry Pine during these times. That's when he will be on Zoom, available for students to seek tutoring. You can also contact him at this phone number if you need to maybe set up a different time for tutoring. That if these times don't coincide with something convenient for you, then you can work something out with him. Okay. Now, we can go to assignments, and there are some extra credits here. They're not due yet, so don't worry about those. That comes in module number 2. So don't, this part of the, this is called the, oh, shoot, my mind's gone blank. Microbar. This is the microbar, right? You get to everything here in the microbar. If you have a quiz to take or an exam, they'll be listed here. Now, I will say, you see these here. These are called reviews, right? Those are exams that you don't need lockdown browser for. You can take those within Brightspace, and this is how some of my students drill this material. Rather than use only the review document, they'll go in here and take these as if they were taking an exam. It will grade it for you. I won't see the grade. This is just for you. And it will tell you which ones you missed, and you can go back and concentrate on them. All right, so that's what these reviews are. When you get to the exams, then you're going to see requires lockdown browser. All right, so when you click on one of these, and there are the due dates, then you should go to the bottom of the page, and here's that download and install latest version of lockdown browser. If you ignore that because you've already installed it on your computer and you say launch lockdown browser, then the system is going to check the version that you have installed on your computer. And if you don't have the latest version, it'll kick you back to installing the latest version. And then you can go in and take the test. Okay. Now, before you do that, let's go into everything else is in content. Go to content and start here. Everything else is under start here. No matter what else you see there, if you need the course materials, start here, lessons and resources. So if we go to module 1 for the material for exam 1, then it will pop up here. And in order to connect with the you can also connect here, right? And this is probably a better way to go because this has the useful information document. This is the one you want to print, right? Open this up, print a copy, then you can have that. You're allowed to have that with you during the exam. Then when you click on this, it will go to the same place as the other. Okay, so let's look at some other stuff before we get down to those modules again. I've got a little blurb here on the course tour. It's kind of dated, right? Actually, it's going to send you to okay, to the video that we're doing now. Here's a copy of the syllabus. Inside the syllabus is also my schedule and a Zoom link for my office hours. Okay. I've also got from within the syllabus, that's my schedule. The course schedule is inside the syllabus, but you can also get it. I've uploaded just the schedule here. If that's all you're interested in, then you can go in and look at the schedule here, right? Rather than having to open up the syllabus. And then these are breadcrumbs across the top, so you can back up to where you want it to be. Let's see. Let's go back to start here. Okay. And if you don't have a PDF reader, that is, you can't open PDF files unless you have a reader, then here are two sources. The Adobe Acrobat will give you a free reader. So you go to their website. Let's be sure the link still works. Yeah, download Acrobat Reader. When you install it, be sure to uncheck these things like that. Otherwise, you're going to get extra software installed on your computer that you don't want. Then once you've got that reader, any document in Brightspace that is, let's see, this thing always gets in my way. Let's see, I'll go back to here. No, here, no, that one. Where was I? Oh, here I am. Okay. Go back here to once you've installed the Acrobat Reader, then anything that's in PDF format, which is most everything in the course, you can read it. And in fact, now, if the document is a form, that is, it has fields that you can put information into. For instance, the review document is a form, so you can put it in your computer. You can take it without having to fill it out by hand. And the reader will allow you now to save that work. In the past, you couldn't save it, right? You had to print it, but you couldn't save it. And now you can save it. Self-help links, I'm going to let you look at those. One of my favorites is Khan Academy. They've got all kinds of topics in there, very short videos that have somebody else explain it to you. The rest of them are extra. You can go to them if you want to, but I would start with Khan Academy if you have questions. I'm not sure what I put under odds and ends. Don't worry about that. Here we go. Getting started with Cengage. This gives you videos of things that you can do, how to start strong with Cengage, how to load it up. These are videos, and how to do certain things within Cengage. So I encourage you to look at those videos. And then go here to Cengage registration, right? This will take you to Cengage registration. It's not going to allow me to do what I want to do because I'm not really a student. It knows that I'm not a student, so it's not going to give me the right page. But then you would open your content there, and if you don't have an account, it's going to ask you to make one first. And then to register for the homework, there should be a code that comes with your purchase in the bookstore, your purchase of Cengage Unlimited. It'll ask you for that code when you register. Okay, so registration, Cengage homework. Okay, you only have to do that once. Once you're registered, then you could click on this and it would take you to your homework assignments. But I've also got homework assignments in here, right? So if you go into the module and you go down to, let's see, let's collapse all so that's not so busy. Let's see, homework. Here we go. Homework, open that one up. So here's chapter 1 homework, chapter 2 homework. This will take you directly to the assignment. All right. Let's see, ebook. I don't know if we really need that. Mind tap. Let me check it, see if it works. Be sure it's not a broken link. Okay. There's the textbook. Okay. Okay, so you shouldn't have to enter an access code. After you've registered with the homework, this should be available. This should be available to you. Actually, it should be available to you, excuse me, up here. If you go to registration, if you click on this, I'm going to try it anyway to see if it works. All right, it thinks I'm a student. So if I were coming in as an instructor, it would give me a link to the electronic book. So you should have access to it. Once you've registered your homework, you should have access from this link. You should have access to the book. All right. So here's how you connect. If you want to connect with a Zoom class meeting, you click on that one, and then you click on this link, and it should show you all the classes scheduled through the semester. And we're currently in this one right here. You just click start, and I set it up so that you can start. You can enter before I do. Just when I enter, I'll open things up and I'll become the host. You won't be the host when you start it. You'll be just a participant. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to table contents and then start here and go down to modules. All right, let's look at the module in detail now. All right, if it's too busy, just hit collapse all. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. Module 1. There we go. Okay, collapse all. So each module is going to look like this. Their objectives, a list of objectives. Here's a periodic table. I think this one has, let's look. This is a PDF format. Yes. So this is the one that tells you which ones I want you to memorize. That's good to know. Let's go back to Module 1. Let's see. This is from January 2024, an introduction and Chapter 1 lecture. So I will substitute today's lecture in that spot, and I'll move this one down to archives. Here we go, video archives. Video archives has everything I've ever done with this course, all these links. So you don't have to look at them unless you're in a hurry and you can't wait for me to post the most recent one. Then you can go back and look at the one before. So Chapter 2 objectives, and what you'll also have is PowerPoint slides. Right? If you click on this one, you're going to get the PowerPoint slides, and you can look at them in the browser, but it's probably better if you download them and open them in Microsoft Office. If you don't have access to that, then you can get the PDF file of the PowerPoint slides. The PDFs don't have animations. They don't have embedded videos. Right? So they'll be deficient there. This one is an HTML5 version. If you just click on this, it'll come up in the browser right there. And you can go through the slides just like we did in class. And these will have all embedded videos and animations. Okay? So the slides will be, PowerPoint slides will be in 3 flavors. One of those 3 flavors. And the same for each chapter, right? So this, we go down to these, you see, PowerPoint, PDF, HTML5. Same thing for this one. And then once we get through with that one and the lecture for all of those PowerPoints, then we get to review documents. And the review documents are here. This is a review document form. The best way to use this one is to download it and open it in your PDF reader. If you try to access it and edit it and do anything with it in the browser, it's not going to work well. Right? So you just click that and download it, and then open it up in your browser, and you can fill in the blue places with your answers. Okay, here's the key. This will probably, yeah, there's the key, see? So you can check your answers. And also, there's the worked problems, right? Just like the one I showed you and would hand out in class. And then here's the review video that is the result of classroom activities in reviewing for exam 1. There's your homework connections. I already links. I gave you those already. Archives. Here's the practice tests that we saw earlier. Right? So for chapter 1, 2, and 3, you can run those, and they look just like a Brightspace exam. If we click on, say, this one, it will come up like that. We'd start the quiz. Okay, and click on our answers. Just click on your answers and then submit. Go all the way to the bottom. Submit the quiz. And it's going to tell me I got a bunch of wrong. I didn't answer any. And then just submit my quiz, and it should give me an assessment. Attempted. Okay, here we go. It tells me the ones that I got wrong and what the right answer is. Okay, so that way you can check yourself and drill. All right, let's see. Let's go back module 1. And we got down to practice tests. There we go. And then your homework links. I already showed you those. Exam. And then these end of chapter problems. If you get the hard copy textbook, and I think this is good for 8th edition, then these will be the end of chapter solutions. You won't need those. So actually, I probably ought to take this out. Just disable that version. Okay. Oh, textbook. Let me see what this one does. No, not that one. Okay, so I need to disable some of these because they can be confusing. There's things, these are things in here that that every course will have in it. So if you read it for one course, you've seen it for all of them. All right, since there's nobody here but me, we're not going to have any questions, and I'm finished about 20 minutes early. So let's see, exit school. Oh, by the way, while we're here, class list. This shows you everybody that's in the class, including your instructor. And if you want to send an email to anybody in the class or all people in the class, you click that and you can send an email to everybody like this. Okay? You can't receive emails, but you can send emails, right? All right, so I'm going to cancel that. Or if you just want to contact one person, a study partner, say, then you can click on that and send them a message. If they respond, then you've got to get the message in your New River email account. So if two ways you can do that, you can go to this page here, and I think that's email archive. It should have an email. Let's see, degrees, no. Yeah, email. Click on this one to install Office 365 and get your email. So you can get email from here, or if you have an email client that you prefer, you can add your New River email account to that client. See, I have a client here. I use Microsoft Outlook. That's my client, and I've got. Oh, I'm not sharing it. Sorry. Hold on a second. Let's stop that share and share. I probably showed you a bunch of stuff that you couldn't even see. I'm sorry. Where's my email account? Here it is. Share it. So I use Outlook for my email, and I have several accounts added here. I have my New River account here. I have another school that I teach for. I have my personal. That's where I get my authentication codes. And then I've got another old account that I put in there, a couple of old accounts. Right? But if you've got a client that you like, you can put it into your client. Except some free clients will only allow you to use 2 emails. But if you use Outlook from your account with New River, then it will allow you to add several accounts. Okay. All right. So let me stop that share. And I guess that's it. Anything else? We'll meet weather permitting 2 days from today on Thursday. We'll meet at 9 o'clock on the Raleigh campus for a face-to-face Zoom and yeah, face-to-face and Zoom. And then the video link will be posted so that web students can watch it. Okay. Well, that's it.